procure to pay cycle works how? In that case, first a purchase requisition is created where you make a request for purchase, and when you make a request for purchase, you take prices from a number of vendors, that what are the different prices are quoted by different vendors. Then you final one vendor on the basis of the prices and the timeline and all those things, and then you decide that this particular vendor will be given the quotation, given the order. So for that you make a purchase order. Once a purchase order is done and is given to vendor, the vendor supplies you the goods and with the bill, that is the invoice. Once you get the invoice is taken up in the SAP system. So the invoice is taken up with the reference to the purchase order. So once you get the invoice in the SAP system from the purchase department, then you go and make the payment for that particular invoice, and then what the cycle is completed. But if we move to the next, that is direct purchase or direct invoice booking in finance or accounts department, that means that there is no purchase order at all. The vendor supplies you the things and he gives you the bill, and those bills are directly punched into the accounts department and they are paid directly. So these are two different scenarios. Right now we are doing the scenario which we are doing is only direct purchases by accounts and finance department, because we cannot take the purchase department things right now, because that involve material management module, and that module is not a part of this particular syllabus. So we'll be first booking the vendor invoice directly for accounts and finance, and then we'll be processing the payment to that particular vendor, and we'll see how these things that's reflected in the line item, vendor line item display, and the vendor balances and different reports for the same. So first moving up to posting a vendor invoice, FB60, you can see there is a path defined as well, and at the same there is a transaction code. By mistake the transaction code is written wrong, it's FB60. So there is a transaction code as well as the path. So first we'll go to FB60. So moving to the SAP screen, we'll run the invoice booking, that is FB60/n FB60. Sorry, the transaction code written is wrong, it's FB60, enter. So it will take you to the screen, that is enter vendor invoice, company code 1200. Now to book an vendor invoice, you would be needing certain ledger accounts, like you would be needing an inventory or a purchase ledger, and then a vendor account for the same. So did we have created any purchase ledger? Let's have a look to that. Let's go to the ledger, right? Look after the ledger, that is the screen. Now moving to this, we'll see that a particular expense or a purchase account has been created or not. FS00 to create a particular ledger. Let's have a look with F4 key, the list of all the ledger account, whether there is any purchase ledger or not in that. So purchase ledger is basically with the initial digit is 4, if you remember, the expense digit. If you don't remember, you can go to the transaction /o for a new session and OBD4, and we can see the expense group for that matter. You can remember that the expense group starts with the 4, so we can go with the 4 and we can create a new one, a new expense or a purchase ledger in that. So for that we need to go over here as 4. So we'll be creating a new ledger over here for purchase account. So it's a part of expense, then profit and loss account, then, or even you can take, okay, let's take a purchase account, PURCHASE, purchase account, purchase account. So moving next to the control data. Now we have taken this as an expense, so we'll be taking only the line item, and over here we'll be taking all expenses. For that we have to take a star, selecting positive, posting without line item text allowed. Then moving to the next, we'll be taking, whenever you book any expenses in SAP, for expenses there is a separate filled status group, that is cost account. Cost means all the cost, all the expenses. So whenever you create any expense ledger, you have to take G004 as a field status group. So double clicking on this, I am taking G004 because I am creating a GL for expense, that is purchase account. So I filled all those details. Now I can go to this save option and my ledger will be created, it is purchase. So once this has been purchased, continue. Now you can see this has been created, that is 4 5 times 0. This is the code. I can go to my vendor invoice, that is booking of vendor invoice over here, and now I can book my invoice. So to book my invoice, the very first thing you have to do is you have to check your company code over here, that is your company code correctly displayed. If not, you can go to this company code key field over here, click on it, and you can change your company code from whatever is there to your own. So it has been displayed. Now you can go to the vendor. We will select the vendor with the options, search options over here. So selecting, okay, now moving over here, you can see this is the vendor. So double click on this, the vendor is selected. Now everything is grayed out over here. So what you have to do is you have to enter on the keyboard. Once you put an enter on the keyboard, the next field will get opened up. So over here you have to fill the invoice date. Invoice date is the purchase, that which the vendor the bill which has been shown to you, the date on the bill. So the date suppose is 25th October 2014, and now you are posting that bill on the SAP system on posting date, that is 25th 29th. But suppose if you want to put the same date, you can put the same date as 2510. So once you put this date and put enter on the screen, now your vendor is selected, your date is selected over here. Now you can go to the next is your text. If you have any text to write, like you can write purchases from vendor, so you can put over here as purchases from vendor, and then you can move to this ledger account. So this vendor what you have selected over here, when you make any invoice posting entry, the entry made is purchase accounts get debited and the vendor gets credited, because vendor is a liability which has to be paid. So this particular vendor will automatically get credited now, but we have to select a debit over here. So for selecting the debit, we need to select the ledger which will be debited. So we'll be selecting the ledger over here now, that is the purchase account. So we'll select the purchase ledger over here because we need to debit the purchases for this particular transaction, and now the purchase has been debited. You can put the amount over here. Suppose I have put the amount over here. Now you can go to next, and you can put the text as well if you need, if you wish to. So suppose I put the purchases, I have put up over here. Now you need to put the business area as well. For every transactions you are supposed to put the business area. So your business area, you can get it with F4 key. You can get the list, and from that you can select it. Suppose I select 1230, that is product 3. So 1230 is the purchase business area will be displayed over here. So that has been done. Now I can go to the simulation tab and enter, and we'll see the entry will get, okay, we need to put an amount. So we have put the amount over here, but we have not put the amount over here. So we need to put that amount over here as well. So I have put the amount. Next is you can go to this payment tab. Over here we need to put the enter the payment term. What payment term do you want to follow? So to see the payment terms, you can go to this search options again. What are the payment terms already defined in the SAP system? Out of these you can take any of the payment terms. For example, suppose I take immediately, because I need to check the payment process as well. So I have to take the immediate option as a payment term. So I have selected this immediate part. Now moving up to next is, after putting this, you can go to this simulate, so as to simulate the document how the entry will be posted in this screen in the SAP system. So enter. So you can see the entry displayed is the TCS posting key is 31. So for vendor the posting key always comes up as 31. 31 means the vendor is credited, and this particular 4040 means debit. So this ledger account is getting debited. So once you click on this post, this transaction will get posted on the SAP system and a number will be generated on the footer. So you can see the number generated is 1900000. If you want, you can go back and you can have a look at this invoice. How? If you remember, in the ledger accounting we have read FB03 to display a document. So to display a document you need to go to FB03 and we put this particular document number there and we can enter and we can display it. So that is 1900000. Company code is 1200 and the fiscal year is 2014. Enter, and when you enter on the screen the entry is displayed over here. So you can see this. Now over here there are few things you must have to notice down, that is, this is a ledger account but this TCS is a vendor. Vendor means a sub ledger, and for a sub ledger the posting key used is 31. So now if this is basically an entry view, if you can read this data entry view over here, this is entry view means what we enter is been viewed to you on this particular transaction. But if I want to know this particular vendor has the amount has gone to which actual ledger, so the actual ledger is which has been assigned in the TDS in the vendor master, that is, go to general ledger view. So it has the TCS amount has gone to this particular ledger, that is vendor, domestic vendor part. So this is how you can check that part as well. So this is for displaying a document in the SAP system. Now we will moving to the next part. We have posted an invoice. Now we will make a payment to the vendor. So to make a payment we have to go to the transaction code F-53. For in day-to-day purposes you must know these basic transactions. These are a very commonly used transaction in the SAP system. So we'll go to the F-53 transaction. This transaction is used for mainly for payment, and this is termed as a manual payment procedure. And in this we clear the open items. Open item means the vendor line item, that is the vendor document which has been posted just a while back. While making the payment we clear that invoice from the system. Sometimes you want to make an immediate payment to a single vendor. In such a case this is a faster method of making payment rather than executing the payment program. So you can pay an invoice based on an immediate requirement where you don't want to wait for next payment run, or you want to pay an invoice from the bank account that is not relevant for an automatic payment program. So we go for this particular payment. Let's move to the screen F-53. Enter. Now you have to fill these details. First we'll be filling up the document date. Suppose I take the document date as of today, that is 29th October 2014. Posting date will also remain the same. Now we can go below over here to come. You have to fill the company code. So company code is already coming correctly. The currency is also coming correctly. If otherwise you need to fill it. Now moving up to the bank, over here you need to select the bank account in account part. So if is there any bank created in the SAP in the SAP, this for this particular company code, let's go and check. So there is a bank already created, like bank and as well as the bank Citibank. Suppose I make the payment to this particular vendor with bank HSBC. So I will select the bank HSBC and we'll select the amount as well over here and the business area as well. So the business area which we selected was